Rule number 1.
Rule number 1, número 1.
Never say, I'll be right back.
Oh, you can't say I'll be right back.
Never in your life. So these are not just rules for horror movies. These are rules for life to prevent yourself from getting into horror situations. Hi, I'm Caitlin.
And I'm Charlie.
And this is Little Milo.
Little Milo here.
And welcome.
He's kind of tired out today, maybe?
Well, he's either tired or he's super excited. There's no telling which one it is.
Yes, we'll find out.
Welcome to Outsmarting the Shadows, where we help you
survive
horror movies. Yes. So today, in our build-up to Halloween on October 31st.
Yes, what day is it today?
Today is the 28th.
Oh, okay. So in a couple of days,
we're going to be
watching Halloween.
Yes, we are.
On Halloween.
Halloween on Halloween.
Yes.
Hoping that no slashers take a hint and use that as an anniversary for their first killing that will then lead to a bunch of subsequent killings for years and years to come.
Milo will save you.
Yes.
Right here. Right, Milo?
So today.
Yes.
Today is a special episode.
Okay.
It is another Short Talks.
Short Talks.
Yes. So, do you know what we're talking about today?
I have no idea. I thought we were going to talk about a movie, but we haven't watched any movies. And you were like, nah, we're not going to watch a movie today. So I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And that's where I left it. So I have no idea.
So, I have talked about a ton of survival on this show. You've talked about a ton of survival. But what we haven't done is talked about some of the general survival that other people have put out into the world that then we get to scrutinize.
Oh. I don't follow.
So, a lot of rules for surviving horror movies exist out there.
Okay, okay.
So, we're going to talk about all of them, whether they're similar to our rules or not. And we are going to dissect them and see what we think.
Okay.
So
I'm guessing you have a list.
I have a list.
Okay, so
Yes.
let's go to the list.
So, rule number 1.
Rule number 1, número 1.
Never say, I'll be right back.
Oh, you can't say I'll be right back.
Never in your life. So these are not just rules for horror movies. These are rules for life to prevent yourself from getting into horror situations.
So what do you say? See you later, alligator?
Okay, so I'll be right back is usually like I'm going to go grab a drink or I'm going to go to the restroom or something.
Okay, okay.
So I think you should say the specific thing.
Yeah, I'm going to grab a drink. If I'm not back in X amount of minutes, I am dead.
I like that you specify that, even if it's like going to the fridge.
Yeah. It's like, listen, I'm going to, add some gasoline to the car.
Right.
If I'm not back in X amount of minutes, whatever amount of minutes it takes you, I am dead.
Right. So that would be very specific. But can you imagine the typical scenario where people are lying in bed, one of them wants a glass of water.
Okay.
And then, so they say,
I say this all the time.
I'll be right back.
No, I say, I'm going to get some water. If I'm not back in, 2 minutes or 5 minutes, I am dead.
Move on.
Yeah, move on. grab one of the knives or, a weapon and, defend yourself because I am dead.
Well, so I think that most people probably are not going to do that.
Well, you should.
I guess you should. I would say you don't have to be that specific. I would say, I'm going to get some water. Do you want anything? That way there's
So the uttering of the words, if it was going to get you killed.
Well, I'll be right back. I like that yours is so specific on time, but I'll be right back could mean any number of minutes. It could be 1 minute, 20 minutes, 50 minutes.
Well, it depends on what the interpretation of time of the person that is hearing it and the person that is saying it.
And that's the problem. It's so non-specific.
So right back for me could be, 10 years, and for you it could be 2 minutes.
Right?
Yeah.
I'll be right back. Little Johnny never saw his dad again.
No, 10 years later.
10 years later. I said I'd be right back.
Yeah.
Well, what I think is important is that there's an expectation of your return at a specific point, and that you're with someone responsible enough to judge that expectation and then either go look for you or send out a search party of some kind.
Yeah. Now, what would a search party look like from the bedroom to the kitchen?
Oh, I know this. Okay. So you grab a baseball bat.
But wouldn't the 7-minute rule kick in right now?
Okay, that's interesting.
I got you in your own rules.
So the 7-minute rule, if you don't know, is that if you find that something creepy is happening and you don't know what it is and you suspect supernatural forces or a slasher or something, you just go out to the car with your cell phone, and the other people in your house are responsible because they know the 7-minute rule, and you wait 7 minutes and you call them and you say, listen, you've got 7 minutes, get out to the car, we're going for ice cream, losers, let's go, because I felt something creepy.
Okay.
Now, if somebody doesn't return from...
What if they had the urge to poop on their way to getting said thing that they were going to get?
Let's just say number 2.
The second rule?
No.
Number 2 rule? Number
We
2?
let's just say, like
pooping. Everybody poops. You poop, right,
Okay.
listener?
All right.
I poop. You poop.
Anyway,
Milo
all
poops.
right, let's stop talking about it. So let's say that you have to go to the restroom and you're taking an extremely long amount of time.
Because you're pooping.
All right. So if that happens and you're gone for a really long period of time, I mean, I call you to ask you if you're okay.
What if it goes straight to voicemail?
I assume you're not okay, and I check.
Yeah, because I would have the phone if I am pooping
Yeah.
for extended periods of
The
time.
only reason why you would be in there for an extended period of time is if you got death scrolling.
Yeah, you're
on the phone.
Doom scrolling.
You're doom scrolling.
Yeah, yeah.
So the thing is, the problem with the 7-minute rule or any of these things is that now that doom scrolling is a thing, no amount of time for you getting a glass of water or doing anything is really set because you end up doom scrolling while you're doing
just
anything.
Doom scrolling away, and time goes by.
Well, see, maybe the 7-minute rule is important here, but we have a sub rule that's like if
The I'll be right back sub rule.
I'll
for
be
the
right back
7-minute
sub
rule?
rule. Yeah.
Okay.
Which is 7 minutes for them to come back and then something is wrong and you call them.
Okay. And if they don't answer, then the 7-minute rules kicks in?
I mean, so our bedroom, if I came out from my bedroom to go to the car, I would have to pass by the kitchen.
Yeah.
So automatically I'm checking. Like, people are very upset with this rule. Like, we get comments all the time where like, what, you cowards, you're so
Coward.
heartless. Like,
Right.
Of course you're not going to get your family. That's such a white lady thing. And I'm like,
I mean, to be fair, you're a white lady and you came up with it.
I am. But here's the thing. So I'm not saying that you ignore your entire family and you just leave. I'm saying on your way to the car, you're checking, you're calling, you're like
looking.
You're looking. But remember, the reason why people die in horror movies is another thing we're going to talk about, which is they just split up. Or they go back for somebody and then they get separated from the other group and then they end up losing the keys and then something else happens. Like, that's really where the trouble always starts in all horror movies, really. It's like people they don't have a plan, they're not responsible. And like, if you are responsible for your own safety, you're capable of helping other people later.
I see.
Because remember, if something does happen to you on the way to go get a glass of water... and I go to the car and I seriously can't get a hold of you and I see along the way, oh my God, glasses are broken and like the house looks like it's been broken into or a spirit's there.
You would have heard it.
Yeah, but let's just give this scenario what it's due.
Okay.
Then I make it to the car. I'm calling the police, man.
Call the po-po.
I will be able
5-0.
to better assist you and get assistance if I'm safe.
Yeah, you become a narc.
Could you just like... All right.
Don't call the police.
Fine. I just
Deal with
leave
it
you, I
yourself.
guess.
Yeah, 7-minute rule. It's there for a reason.
All right. So the sub 7-minute rule should be that if the person doesn't come back for like a regular errand that should take like 2 seconds within 7 minutes, at the very least you should be calling them on the phone and determining your next move.
Okay.
Okay.
So what's next?
The next one is...
That was number 1.
That was number 1. The next advice that people give is just leave town.
Leave town?
Yeah.
What do you mean leave town?
So, if something creepy is happening, like in Halloween or in something, well, maybe Halloween's not the best example, but like, people don't ever just leave. They always stick around. Like, one person's like, no, we should stay, and then the whole group stays, and then everybody's just in danger.
So, but I lost you. So the first one, I thought we were talking about things that people do that get them killed.
Well, no. These are rules for surviving horror movies.
So never. The first one is never say, "I'll be right back."
Yes.
So uttering of the words, then you're doomed. So never say that.
Yeah, and we have a sub rule for that now.
Okay. So now this one is
Just
you
leave town.
You don't leave town, or you have to leave town.
Just leave town as a.
Yeah, but what does that mean? I mean, let's say you live in New York City, like leave the city.
Well, yeah. So if something terrible or creepy is happening,
You live in
there's
Tampa,
been-
just leave Tampa.
yeah, there's been a murder, and you're being stalked by a demon who's haunted your house.
Mm-hmm.
If you left town, the likelihood is you would leave your troubles behind.
Yeah, but that makes it. What I mean, leave town.
Go on vacation.
I mean, nobody has time. Nobody has the money to just randomly go on vacation. You remember, the 1% is not watching this podcast.
Would you prefer to die?
Do you listen? And you know what? I'm gonna go on vacation right now. You don't have to work tomorrow. You call in sick. You go to the airport. You buy a ticket for right now, which is very expensive if you buy it from right now to right now. You know.
All right.
Or you hop on your car. I guess you could drive and drive and drive. But then you have to spend on gasoline, where
But
are you going to stay, the food.
We tell people to do this all the time. We actually rely on this trope quite a lot. This advice. Like, it's oftentimes that we'll watch a movie and we're like, just leave. I hate to say that, but you could just leave. Like, we say that a lot because a lot of times in most movies, if the person left, they would have been fine.
Yeah, but in some movies it works, and in some they don't.
Some it doesn't.
Like in House. The guy is a writer, he's an author, he has money. He didn't have to keep that house. Presumably he has a different house. He could have just left.
It's true. It's true.
Now the people from Amityville, they have nothing. They don't have money.
That's true.
They spent all their money into this house, so they can't leave.
Yeah. Now
So it depends on where you are.
I mean, it depends on where you are, and it depends on the horror situation. But typically, if you're experiencing something terrible and like you're trying to get away from it, the best option is to leave.
Okay.
Now, the next advice that people give is avoid drugs and avoid drinking.
I mean, a lot of people are
mean-
dead right there. You know.
Cabin in the Woods, Friday the 13th. All of these people died because they did drugs and they
I
were
feel
drinking.
this is a trap.
Of course, it's
This
a
is
trap.
like you know, some form of religion, so no drinking. You know,
Well-
don't partake on the devil's lettuce or the devil's dandruff. You know, that's the good stuff.
Yeah, but-
what is best in life?
Well, what? Okay, you've never done a drug in your life. Like, what are you talking about?
Hard drugs.
Okay, well,
My drug of choice is sugar.
it's true.
Sugar.
It's
Give me
true.
all the sweets.
You just want pies.
Yeah, diabetes.
So, this I think is a good horror movie survival tip because back in the 1950s, this is how this started: is people who did drugs got killed.
Yeah, because they're bad because they
But-
did drugs and they drank.
Yes, but then this rule became really sort of canon because in the 1970s and 80s when really wonderful horror movies came to be, and it was kind of cool, you know. I mean, the last girl standing was always the one who didn't have sex in the movie and didn't do drugs and didn't drink.
Drink, yeah, loser.
The next one is right off of this one, which is avoid sex, specifically avoid having an affair.
All right.
Because if you have
another
an affair,
trap.
yeah, if you have an affair, the killer's gonna get you.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is an example of in Halloween. This is a big one, so we're gonna talk about this later on in the month.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, so the next one seems pretty obvious. Obviously, you can't do this forever, but you could probably not do it
Consistently.
So stay out of the basement. Just stay out of the basement.
I mean, that's pretty easy in Florida.
Right? Well, we have no basement.
There's no basement.
But
if
we-
you're in a basement, you're drowning.
Yeah, exactly. But this is a good representation of, remember the Evil Dead franchise?
Yes.
They went into the basement to just explore all of the dark, broken secrets.
Yeah.
And, you know,
And that's it.
yeah, and then they unleashed evil that was hidden there.
Yeah.
And
But-
that happens a lot.
Yeah. But in The Last of Us, the basement saved the guy.
It did. But it wasn't his basement. It was the basement within the basement. It was like the sub basement that he created that probably
No one
demons
knew.
wouldn't have even known about.
Right?
Like,
And he was armed up to the wazoo.
He was.
He probably had a little, a little demon killing
yeah.
corner
I mean,
in
that
his
guy
basement.
was
He
prepared.
was prepared for everything.
The other example of this that is like you just shouldn't have gone down there is a movie we watched called Barbarian.
Yes, Barbarian.
Barbarian was like, don't go in that basement.
Especially when you found that little room, that
if
murder
there's
room
a room on the side of a basement
that you never knew existed.
that you never knew existed, that's probably filled with demons and terrible things.
And there's a bed and a camera and blood everywhere. It's like some good stuff happened.
Good stuff
did
didn't
not
happen
happen
here.
Right?
This
Another one is the Babadook. Wasn't
Yeah.
that in a basement?
Yep, the Babadook was in a basement. And the other thing that happens in basements is that people get trapped. When they're running from killers or they're trying, they always get trapped in the basement.
I've
because
never
there's usually
been in
no
a house
exits.
that has a basement, so I don't even know how those work. Do they have locks?
Remember, the Virginia house has a basement. It's just not connected to the house. It used to be, but it isn't anymore. It's on the outside of the house.
But that's just an outside room.
But it's underneath the house.
Yeah, but I don't consider that a basement. Because it's not connected to the house. That's not even scary.
Well,
Because you would have to leave the house and then it's up to you to get attacked by bears.
it's true. My grandparents used to have this beautiful old Victorian home when I was a kid, and it had this cool basement in Florida.
In Florida?
Yeah, it was amazing.
So the basement was the ground level.
I guess it was. Maybe the house was elevated. That makes sense.
It has to be.
As
Because
a child, I didn't really understand the geography of how it worked, but it makes sense that the stairs were really tall in the basement. But those stairs to the basement seemed like a long way down. Anyway, they used to keep a collection of pennies down there, canned goods, and it was always damp and musty, and you couldn't see anything. And I was like, it was the perfect horror scenario.
Yeah, for those who don't know, in Florida, if you dig a hole that is 3 feet deep, you have water.
You hit water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's sandy water, it's sand. You really can't build anything.
You can't really, and the only reason why infrastructure even works here is because of rebar and cement.
Yes.
So that's it. So we don't have basements. We do have some pretty fantastic attics occasionally,
Yeah.
but
Other than
not
that,
as
no
often
basement.
as we really should. So that's, just avoiding the basement is not something you can do forever. But if you are going to go into a basement, I would say do it during the day. Bring a couple of people with you, and
Bring
like
a
some
couple
lights.
of people to the basement.
Why
That makes
not?
no sense.
No, it
What if
does.
you're home alone? It's like, okay, let's call, hey, Johnny, your neighbor. Hey, Johnny, do you have a time? Yeah, what is it, Bob? Well, see, I need to go down to the basement, and I need you to help me. So could you come over and, stop doing whatever it is that you're doing? Come into my house and just, be my second man to go into the basement.
No.
What do you need? Well, you see, I'm looking for a little box cutter to open this box. Oh, don't worry about it. I can have a box cutter right here. I can take it over. And then he brings you, but then when he's there, you're like, no, but we still have to go to the basement. Would you? Then you're just inconveniencing other people to just go to the basement?
I'm really talking about when you first buy a house and you haven't been to the basement. You bring a couple of people, and then what you can do is you put in infrastructure down there to make it not a hole for creepy things. And maybe you could even create a false wall so that if you get trapped down there by a killer, you can hide.
What if you're buying the house and you're the inspector? You have to go to the basement by yourself.
I feel like inspectors are immune to all horror movies.
Oh,
Well, just think about it. Inspectors have been in every single horror movie that we've ever
they're
watched.
just walking in. There's the nun is in the corner. Like, yeah. Listen, could you move back?
Yeah.
I need to inspect that little corner right there, please, and thank you.
No, I am serious. Think about it. The number one profession where it's in every single movie at some point. There's an old creepy house. There's something. There was an inspector, but they are never ever killed or hurt or scared or anything.
Even though they know, because that's
And they
what
must
happened in Amityville.
Yeah.
Horror with Ryan Reynolds. That lady, she knew.
That was the real estate agent.
Oh, okay.
The inspector went in and had seen so many ghosts before he didn't even care.
Yeah, it was like,
So-
okay, cool.
I would say all inspectors are immune.
Okay, so then the point of this would be become an inspector.
Yeah. It's actually not that hard.
Drop everything
Yeah.
you're doing and become a home inspector. That way, you'll be safe.
Yes. So the next rule that we're going to cover is one that we've talked about extensively in a previous episode. It's never split up.
Ah, the classic. You go over there, I go over there, and we meet up in the middle.
Right? Don't worry. We'll investigate and we'll find
Yeah,
out what happens.
by ourselves.
Yeah.
Yes.
You'll
And
never see them
we
again.
have the cell phone, this walkie-talkie. Oh, there's no signal. It's classic.
Yeah, so remember, when you're in a slasher movie in particular, outnumbering the slasher is very powerful. And if you separate, you make it really easy for them to pick you off,
Yes.
one by one. So and this actually happens especially in the woods. It's like a common trope where they're separated and then they get killed individually in the woods. So I would say it's really easy to just stick together. It's really easy.
Yeah. Just listen, where are you? Okay, let's just stay right here.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah. You grab the hand. Okay, let's walk together. Or get those little things that they buy for toddlers that, you know, you put like a little harness on them and they're tied to your to your chain or something
Right,
like that.
where you're like connected, you're
yeah,
tethered.
you're connected. You just get a rope and you tether yourself to one another.
I feel like that could end poorly, but you're right.
Yeah, that would be a way. Or get a collar, you know, and you connect each other, kind of like you know those what are they called? The gimp collars. Instead of the gimp mask, you can have a gimp collar.
I think
then-
that's a terrible
then
idea.
collar to collar, you're slave and master type of thing, and then you walk around with your gimp collar on, and then
feel-
you're safe. Although then you could possibly get hanged by
Yeah,
your
what
collar.
if one of you dies?
Yeah.
I think physically connecting each other, like
Yeah.
by
And then you have
objects,
to
is
carry
probably
the
a bad
body,
idea.
and it's,
Yeah,
it's
that's
not
a terrible
good.
idea.
And, yeah. so I mean, food for thought.
I guess. Think about it and you
Yeah.
get back to us. Let us know what you think. Okay, so the next advice that people give is just keep driving.
Keep driving.
So, as an example, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, they stop and they just investigate things.
Yeah.
Or Hitcher. Remember, cars are key to surviving pretty much any horror situation. If you get in a car, you just keep driving.
Well, Jeepers Creepers.
This is actually another rule, which is we'll talk about that rule in a little bit.
Okay.
But the one to just keep driving, it's really important to remember the safety inside of a car and the safety of being able to just move quickly away. Most things aren't going to follow you.
Yes, but if it's the Jeepers Creepers, you're dead.
But remember, you've always said, you and I have always disagreed on this. I'm like, if there's a little baby animal or something on the side of the
you
road,
run it over.
I'm going to stop and
No,
help
you
it.
don't stop. Could you imagine? It's 3 a.m. You're in the woods of some Podunk County somewhere, and there's a 2-year-old baby on the road. Listen, there shouldn't be a 2-year-old baby at 2 a.m. walking in the middle of the road in a field. It's either a monster or you're being baited.
Yeah,
So
that's
you know?
a call the authorities situation.
Yeah. So either you run over the baby, or you turn around.
Don't run over the baby. Just go around it.
Yeah, but I'm talking about those little tiny roads where there's only one road, one-way road.
Oh yeah, that's not good.
That ain't good.
Well, the other thing, I feel like if you see an animal on the side of the road that's been hit or something, like I've stopped for plenty of them, and I think that's probably not a plant.
Okay.
Just personally.
Nah. That's
Okay.
like that goes into that thing that always happens in horror movies. An animal gets into the middle of the road and you swerve your car, and you have an accident. No, just run over the animal. Just hit it.
If it's a deer, it's going to really severely damage
If
your
it's
car.
a deer, you try to stop, but how many deers are you going to run over in Florida or
A lot. There's deer everywhere here.
I don't know. Deer are getting smart. All you have to do is not put the deer crossing sign so they know not to cross.
Well, the next rule to this is never drive behind trucks.
Yeah, but that's just a life thing.
that is just a regular life thing, but it's also true in horror movies.
You shouldn't tailgate trucks.
Yes, you shouldn't tailgate trucks. You shouldn't stand. You know, there's like sometimes poles and stuff in Final Destination 2, like that pole killed that lady.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things like that can happen. And remember, trucks have a hard time seeing you, and sometimes they're filled with killers who just want to kill you.
That they do.
Yeah. So just never drive behind trucks.
Never drive truck.
Now, the next rule is one that you and I comment on all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Don't drop the weapon.
Ah.
And this always happens. So the hero gets to the killer. They kill him. They whack him over the head or something. And they stab him. And then they drop the weapon and run away for some reason.
Or they let
because
it
they're
go.
so upset.
Or they don't double tap.
Yeah.
And that's what happened in that old 1930s movie we watched. This old big house up there.
Yeah.
Where he got the knife and he didn't even throw it at him. He was like, oh.
Right? It's like
listen, you have a sword.
You have a knife with you. Just use it.
Yeah.
Why?
It's a weapon.
Yeah. So this happens way too often. I think it's because people in their day-to-day life are not prepared for the intensity of violence. Like if you have to hurt something, anything, it's so shocking to you. You want it to be over with, so you kind of relinquish everything. And the thing that you have to remember, I mean, it's not psychologically good, but it's good for your survival, is that it is not over until you are safe with authorities or something. Like it's not
whatever person
is there. Like until the threat is never gone. If you're
or until you grab their heart on your hands and munch on it. That way you know.
Well, I mean, that would be a sure way to get rid of the killer.
Yeah, get rid of the killer, yeah.
You become worse than the killer.
Yeah, you get upset because it's worth, you got a knife, okay, he's down, you open the thoracic cavity, you take the heart and
it's a lot. Do you know how difficult it is to open a thoracic cavity?
And, you got a sharp knife.
Do you know how hard it is to just cut through bone in general?
Well, you got a sharp axe. You get the tools.
You figure it out.
The thing is, you finish the job.
Remember, you want to do a full not histopathology. You want to do a full necropsy.
Yes.
On this creature.
That's what you have to do. Yeah. And to make sure you eat it.
Well,
and you get all that power.
Then you eat the organs.
Yeah.
So this is actually a horror genre that I think is really interesting. We haven't really gone into it much, where the killer or the psycho or whatever kidnaps somebody or is in their house or whatever, and it turns out the person that they're victimizing is like 100 times worse than they ever could imagine.
Yeah.
And they're like this. They are.
You kidnapped the serial killer,
right? That's actually a thing. It's these. There was this preview of a movie that I saw just the other day where this killer kidnaps a lady, and it turns out she's like an actual psychopath, and she's just ready.
Like that movie we watched where the
Green Room.
No, it's not the Green Room. You haven't watched the Green Room.
No, I won't watch the Green Room.
We should watch the Green Room.
No, we won't. I won't watch it. I won't watch that because I don't.
She won't watch it because she doesn't want to see Patrick Stewart as an evil character.
I never will.
A really good evil character.
Listen, Patrick Stewart is amazing and wonderful in my eyes, and I won't let that be tarnished.
In the Green Room, Patrick Stewart is a neo-Nazi, old school, like hack and slash him, gang leader.
Okay, in my mind, Patrick Stewart is a Shakespearean, like,
that's what makes it better.
And I respect everything that he does, and that's it.
Leave a comment down below if you want us to watch The Green Room.
I won't. I'm sorry. I don't care how many comments I get. It's not happening.
We'll watch The Green Room.
No, we're not watching The Green Room.
Anywho, not The Green Room. I wasn't referring to Green Room. I was referring to that movie where there was a lady and she had a child out in the woods, and these guys, they had an accident, and then they went to the house, and the lady was just batshit crazy.
Misery?
No, it's a horror movie. Was it a horror movie? I don't know if it was a horror movie. I'll spoil the whole movie as I keep talking about it. It's a movie we watched.
There's a movie, and we'll have to mention that in another podcast.
Yes.
But there's a bunch of examples of that. So that's why I say don't drop the weapon.
Yeah, just don't do it.
Yeah. All right, so the next key is keep a cell phone handy.
keep a cell, but that is not always the case because in the woods you never have cell service.
It's true, but there's three things that you have
And
to keep.
first of all, it's ironic that you, of all people, say this rule. Mm-hmm. Where's your phone right now?
It's right here.
Is it charged?
No, it's dead.
There you go. Exhibit A.
Okay, so
You have your phone with you and it's never charged.
I am
When you need it,
notorious.
it has zero battery.
It's true.
We're lost in the woods. Oh, I don't have any battery because I didn't charge it for the past 7 days. I didn't come to my mind that I can charge my phone.
So I'm notorious for not charging my phone and not having it ready. And especially like before we record, I usually need it for notes and stuff.
Yeah.
And like I sometimes don't have it.
Yeah.
And like that's a big problem with me. I am not good at that.
You wouldn't even follow. You're already dead. If there's a situation where you
dead.
need your phone in the woods, we can't count on you.
No, here's the thing. The reason why I am really good at surviving horror movies is not because I'm good at contacting the outside world, but because I know as much as I can about how to beat the demon or kill the slasher or or hide and then attack, and like I try to be good at that because I know where my weaknesses are. My weaknesses are charging technology and calling for help at the appropriate time. I'm very bad at that.
Yeah, so if we need to entrust you in a life or death situation, then you either need to charge your phone, charge the batteries for cameras, anything that has to do with charging anything, we're dead.
Okay. Well, the other two things that you need to keep in mind are the car keys and the weapons.
Okay.
So you're in charge of charging the cell phones, and I'm in charge of the weapons.
Okay.
And you're in charge of the car keys.
Okay.
And I would say that then we're golden.
Yeah, there you go.
Because I'll have all the weapons and
half of the car keys and charged devices.
yes.
There you go.
I like that.
So you
And
split up your...
you split responsibility between
What if it's a lone
your...
person?
Okay.
You know, they live sad and alone and they don't have nobody.
If you're sad and alone and you don't have anybody, that's fine. That means that you can be responsible for it. And you can, you just know that you need to have those things. If you're a couple or you have many people around you, everybody needs to be responsible.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so the next thing is don't be a jerk.
Don't be a jerk. Well, that's a hard one because everybody is always a jerk to someone sometime in their life.
Well, if that moment was during a horror movie, you would die.
You're dead.
I would say you should endeavor to always be kind. You don't have to be nice, but you do need to be kind.
Okay.
And if you are a jerk, most of the time you will get your comeuppance.
But
As example in Carrie.
Wouldn't you have to explain what a jerk is?
Yes. So,
Like a Karen?
no, a Karen is not a jerk.
Okay.
A Karen is, I would say, ignorant of the responsibilities of those around her and of her own responsibilities in that situation.
Okay. So what constitutes a jerk?
A jerk is someone who is inconsiderate of the people around them and only thinks about what they are experiencing in that given moment.
Okay.
And
okay.
a lot of times it goes a step further where it's not only about being inconsiderate, but intentionally causing malice or emotional or physical harm to somebody else for their own enjoyment.
Then what's the definition of the jerk in horror movies that you see all the time? Like the jock? You know, the jock that gets drunk, like, yeah, party.
No, that's an example of, according to horror movies, that's like a typical teenager. A jerk is someone like in Carrie. There's a character who decides to plan an elaborate moment for Carrie where she thinks that she's being crowned queen, and instead she gets pig's blood poured on all
that's not being a jerk. That's just being a psychopath.
That is a psychopath, but it's also being a jerk.
Jerk is synonym with psychopath.
Well, being a jerk is, if you're just being mean to other people and just not being considerate, that's a jerk.
Okay.
Just being a jerk.
There you go.
And you're going to get killed. If you're in a horror movie and you're a jerk, for sure you're going to get killed.
Yes.
It's just going to happen. And you're going to be one of the first ones to go.
Right.
Because
And
no one's going to care.
Yeah, everybody's going to be happy that
Right?
you're gone.
Everyone's going to be happy. So the next one is something that I definitely take to heart.
Mm-hmm.
Stay away from clowns.
Yes.
As
Nobody likes clowns.
Right?
Who
As
likes
demonstrated
clowns?
in It
You know?
and Killer Clowns from Outer
Right?
Space.
If you like clowns, then man, you deserve it.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of clowns. There's only one clown that I love.
I would say only get close to the clown if you have a clown fetish.
No, but
There are people that have clown fetishes out there.
yes, but I would say that if you have a clown fetish, you're more likely to get killed.
You're more likely to be the murderer
Oh, yeah. Well, who was
in the movie.
Who was the killer who dressed up like a clown? Was it John Wayne's Gacy?
I think one of them, either that or Ed Gein. I don't know.
Yeah,
One of them.
He kidnapped children and he dressed up like a clown, and he murdered them.
And ate them, I think.
Yeah, it was awful.
Don't eat children. That's the tip of the day. If you get anything from this podcast in today's episode, would be that. Do not eat children.
Ever.
Yeah, ever.
So, definitely stay away from clowns. That's never going to do any good for you.
That's never going to end well. No
Yes.
clowns. Clowns are nightmare fuel.
Right. So, the next tip is remember that it never dies the first time.
Oh, yeah, it always comes back.
Yeah, always remember the double tap from Zombieland.
Yeah.
But remember, in The Nun 2 and in Scream, a lot of these horror creatures, they just...
I mean, that one doesn't really take in When Evil Lurks, because that ain't going nowhere.
I know.
That will never die.
It's never gonna... It's
and
always
if you try
there.
to kill it, it will just spread even more.
That's true. But When Evil Lurks, if you haven't seen our episode on When Evil Lurks, you should go check it out, because When Evil Lurks...
If you haven't watched that movie, go watch that movie.
Yeah, it defies all of conventional horror norms.
Tropes. Yeah.
And that one, we had to actually come up with a bunch of new rules and new ways of exacting rules and being extremely strict with it.
Yeah. I mean, and that one, just leave is the number one rule.
Yeah, but you have to leave in a specific way.
Yeah, you can't just take everything.
That one, it's not a 7-minute rule.
You have to get naked and leave.
It's a 10-second rule.
Yeah, that is a 10-second rule. Oh, it's here. I gotta go.
Yeah.
Touch nothing. Burn your clothes. Get in the car and leave.
And leave. And you never, ever come back. Ever.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. And you can't contact anybody.
Yep. No one.
And like, that's an intensity right there.
Mm-hmm.
So the next one is don't trust toys or robots.
Toys or robots? I mean, I don't even know what that means. What do you mean, trust a toy?
Well, a lot of times people will anthropomorphize toys where they become very emotionally attached to
like
toys.
in Poltergeist.
Like in Poltergeist.
In Poltergeist, you have a double whammy because it's a toy and it's a clown.
I think you're talking about Child's Play, right?
No.
In Poltergeist, they have a...
Poltergeist, there is a toy, and the toy is a clown.
Oh, that's not good.
When you know he's in, you probably saw Poltergeist. If you haven't seen Poltergeist, you shouldn't be watching this podcast. You probably saw Poltergeist.
Yeah.
So if you didn't, it's gonna get spoiled right now. Go watch it, then come back. So in Poltergeist, there is a scene where the kid, he's in the room, he's going to sleep, and then there's the clown that is sitting. He has a toy clown that is sitting in the chair, and he hears the clown kind of move, and he looks at it, and it has this devilish grin because they found the creepiest toy you can ever imagine. And in fact, next movie we're gonna watch is gonna be Poltergeist. Yes, I'm not gonna say anything more about it because that tomorrow's episode, Poltergeist.
The original?
Well, yes.
Okay. All right. Movie decided.
Movie decided.
Changing the list.
Changing the list.
All right.
We do what we want because this is our podcast.
Right? So don't trust toys or poltergeists.
Let's pause on this, and tomorrow we'll keep talking about
Okay.
toy, clown.
Okay, toy clown. Now, of course, this also goes into Child's Play. You shouldn't have trusted that toy. And Megan.
And I haven't watched that.
We haven't seen Megan, but it's a robot.
It's a robot, yeah, an AI.
Now, the next one and final, the final
Final installment.
rule that we're going to cover
Okay.
super classic.
Oh, we got a drum roll.
No. We'll do the drum roll in post.
Okay. Oh, then let's go back. Cut that out. Okay, let's do it again.
So the next and final rule
We're just pausing for the drum roll. Okay.
is avoid old, large houses.
Avoid old, large houses. I mean, in today's economy, you're not buying an old, large house because you don't have millions of dollars.
You don't
so that
have the
is
money.
relatively easy. I mean, if you're a millennial back and not a boomer and you just want to buy a house, all you're going to be able to get is a house that was built in the 1950s/60s that is all beat down and is going to be a fixer-upper.
Right.
That's probably, and getting a mortgage for like 50 years. That's probably all you're going to get.
Right.
You ain't getting no
For
old.
$1 million.
Yeah, for $1 million. You ain't getting no old big house. So nobody has to even worry about this. Unless you live, I don't know, in Lithuania or something like that there's houses from the 1800s and 1600s. That is not happening in the United States.
Yeah, so this was demonstrated best in The Haunting of Connecticut and The Conjuring.
The Conjuring. Yeah, but look at those movies. The Conjuring was in the 60s, the 70s.
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna be buying. Nobody with a family of 5. You have 5 children, and you're married, and you're the sole provider with a blue collar job. You will not, in today's housing market in the United States, you will not be buying a giant mansion.
So I would say...
So you're safe.
You're pretty much safe. I would say that it is quite important that if you are purchasing an old, large house, that you do some sage smudges and you try to explore nothing in the house, especially the basement.
Right.
And remember...
Like, what was that movie? One of the first ones we did that we didn't even have the video where it was the house.
The Room?
Was it called The Room?
Yeah.
Yeah. The Room where the basement was just out of this world.
Yeah.
With a
Yeah,
breaker and
there
stuff.
was a bunch of like electronic just wiring
over
everything,
wall filled with electronics.
filled with wires, and
Nobody even looked at it.
He was like, "Well, this isn't normal, right?" He called the electric company,
which had no name where he lived.
The electric
And then a
company
guy came out with a beat down Ford from
Right?
the 50s.
and he was like, "I don't know."
I've never seen this in my life. And then he left, and we never saw him again.
He lived.
And he lived. Yeah.
He lived.
Yeah, he did.
So, I mean, avoiding old, large houses is probably the number one rule for almost all hauntings in horror movies, because that's where it happens.
Yeah, I think everybody probably listening to this podcast is safe.
But you don't know.
I don't know. If I am wrong and you're in the house buying market and you're looking at a old mansion, probably built in 1800s, 1600s, let us know in the comments down below.
Yeah, we would love that.
I say that there aren't, but I could be wrong.
There are.
Yeah.
There are tons.
Okay.
But if you do end up purchasing one of these houses, I would say that you need to take some precautions. You need to watch this podcast pretty closely.
Yes. Yes, you do. For a second
So-
there, I thought you were going to say you need to take some Percocets. I was like, what? Percocets? I don't need to take Percocets.
I don't think that would help,
Right? I don't think that would help to survive, a horror movie.
right?
But okay, precautions.
If you have some rules that we did not cover today, these are rules that are just sort of general tropes that we've heard about, and rules that we now have the sub rule that we'll talk about a little bit later on in other podcasts, but we keep coming up with some new fun stuff, so this was good inspiration for us. We'd love to hear new rules from you that you think we should do in order to survive horror movies, and thank you so much for listening.
Yes.
Remember-
What she said.
Yeah. Remember to like and subscribe to our podcast. You can subscribe to us on YouTube. We also have it wherever you get your podcasts. Remember to be vigilant, be safe, and be the last one standing.
Always.